Here and we are back here with the Eron podcast. I'm here with my special guest, Rebecca. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Oh, pretty good, pretty good. Cannot complain. So we are both Scorpios, and we were just talking about this before the podcast comes. So we got a lot of, really fun, cool stories. But I definitely want to start off just, with your basketball career. It's funny because I was looking back and I was looking back at, one of my old Instagram pages, and you were one of the first people I interviewed when I was in college and I was doing some communication. So I'm like, man, like I really want to, connect with her and, see how everything's going with her and life and stuff. And I saw that, you were playing at UCF and you guys won the American Championship. I'm like, wow, that's cool. I interviewed
Yeah.
her, like 4 or 5 years ago. So I'm like, wow, time flies. But, how'd you get started into basketball just in general?
Yeah. So both my parents actually played. So I grew up with a basketball in my hands all the
Mm-hmm.
time. My mom's always been my role model. She's a very special person in my life, and
But she
she
played in
played,
college in Massachusetts, right?
yeah, at
Yeah.
UMass Dartmouth.
Yeah.
So she was a five. She was strictly a post player, rebounder. Um, so I grew up playing, the basketball in my hands, and then grew up in Ipswich, Massachusetts, and then I moved to New Hampshire in high school, and then played at New Hampton School. So that was my high school career. It was a boarding school, prep school, so I lived on campus, which was really cool. I met my best friend, who was my roommate. She also played on the basketball team, and it was just a great experience. I love my high school experience. It was great. Education wise, it was really good education. They had full IB classes. And then obviously, basketball too, being in NEPSAC, which was or one of the best basketball leagues in the country for high school. So it was really great experience. It definitely formed me into who I am today. I got Gatorade Player of the Year in high school too, junior
Yeah.
year. So that was
Talk about that.
probably one of my biggest. Yeah, it was a great accomplishment. That's something that I'll never forget. Definitely was just probably the biggest highlight of my career, for sure.
So what
So
was it like growing up in New Hampshire? Like not a lot of people, know that experience. Especially,
yeah,
you went to two Florida colleges. We'll get into that later, but like what was it like growing up there, especially like just like the whole background, growing up in the, the Northeast. Like it's a different environment. Like I went up to
oh
Maine,
yeah,
it's a different environment. It's really cool, but it's very different.
it is very different. I'm a country girl at heart, so
Mhm.
I love the country. I've always been a country girl. I go into cities and I'm so overwhelmed, and it's just like too much. So I definitely love the country. New Hampshire is beautiful. I grew up in Mass, but New Hampshire is by far, my favorite state. I am biased. My family lives there, but it's just very peaceful. It's our motto's live free or die. So
Yeah.
it's very peaceful. The people up there are amazing. The food, if you like seafood, the best
Yes.
seafood you've ever
Yes.
had, Maine
People do not
lobster.
know that. The best people think like the best seafood is like, somewhere in the Pacific or, in the no, no. When you go northeast I'm telling you, there is no better seafood than that.
They do not play up north,
Yeah.
especially about lobster.
Yeah,
Like
lobster was the best thing I had. I had
it's
that when we went to Maine.
oh yeah, no, it's the best. So I definitely missed it at times. But I loved it. I mean, I can't, it's just the best. It really is. It's
I,
amazing.
I definitely can understand that. What was your experience like playing in the EYBL? Because the EYBL is something that like for us, we were able to kind of see and feel it out because it was getting started by the time we were around, seventh or eighth grade. And by the time we were seniors, juniors and seniors, like we like the EYBL was everything. I personally
Yeah.
didn't play in the EYBL. I played in the Adidas circuit. People get at me about that. But what was your experience like in EYBL? I mean, that's probably the best basketball that's being played in high school.
Right. I actually played in the Adidas circuit as well. But
Yeah,
then I switched to EYBL. I was playing in a team or for the New York Gauchos in New
yeah,
York. So
Gauchos.
um our practices would be on the weekends, which was great. I would drive down with my mom like every other weekend. I switched to EYBL my sophomore year of high school, and played sophomore year and junior year. So I only did 2 years. But it was great. We got so much gear, so much
Yeah,
Nike gear, which
not
was
bad.
sick. Our sneakers, I actually still have these pair of Kobe's that they gave us, but the sick
Oh,
pair of EYBL girls EYBL Kobe's. It was great. I definitely think that I wouldn't have got as much exposure as I did if I didn't play in the EYBL
Mhm.
circuit. Um, I think by my I actually committed to Miami my sophomore year, but my sophomore year before I committed, I think I had about like 36 offers, something like that.
Yeah.
So a majority of them came from EYBL circuit. I was blessed and grateful enough to have great coaches going up. High school EYBL, AAU, and one of my family friends, Marcus, who trained me growing up. But yeah, EYBL definitely, it was a different type of exposure for sure. And traveling as well was really cool. So
So what was your first offer? Because you committed your sophomore year. What was your first offer?
oh my gosh, I think it was BC or Providence.
And how old were you?
Uh, I was eighth grade going into ninth grade
See,
when I
that's
was.
crazy because like for someone like me, my recruiting process was over 5 years. And like it's
Really?
like when I talk to some people's like full recruiting processes were like a year, maybe two, at most three. And it's like, wow, like I always wonder like how things would turn out if I would have just committed really early. But like
Yeah,
what was that process like knowing that you were going to go to Miami all throughout high school,
right,
much from your sophomore year? What was that entire process like? And what was your recruitment process like as a
right.
whole?
Yeah, so I actually got a lot of backlash when I committed to Miami.
Yeah.
You know, we'll get into my my college experience after, but in
Mhm.
high school I grew up, I was a top 50 ESPN recruit.
Yeah.
I was I kind of had the spotlight on me, especially being from up north too, because you don't see a lot of stars. Obviously in New Hampshire and Mass a lot in New York and out west and down
Yeah.
south, but you don't really see you see a lot of men, but not females. Um, so I was getting all of these offers eighth grade, freshman year, and then the beginning of my sophomore year, and I was just so overwhelmed. Like my anxiety was skyrocketing. I had to call all these coaches. I was playing and like I wasn't having fun anymore because I just was feeling pressured all the time. Like if I
Yeah.
didn't play good, um, they would take my offer away, or if I didn't play good, I wouldn't get an offer from this college. So I actually started the recruiting process really early, and my parents, very grateful for them. They actually they took a bunch of time off of work and actually drove me. This was before I took any officials. I only took one official, but I took a bunch of unofficials. We did a trip down south. We went to University of Kentucky, Clemson, um, Dayton, I think, and a few others. And we just road tripped and did like kind of. I was very not educated as far as the recruitment process goes during that time, so I wanted to kind of get a feel for everything.
Yeah.
So that's why we did that, and it definitely opened my eyes a lot as far as like what I wanted, um, and kind of where I wanted to be and settle. So it was great. It was definitely really overwhelming, and I definitely committed too early. I think that's one of my biggest regrets.
Mhm.
Looking back at that time, and it was kind of like I just want to get it over with and commit, so I can just focus on getting better, and not worry about talking to these coaches all the time and build a relationship with the coaches at Miami and the staff there. But yeah, it was definitely a big regret looking back at it now. But yeah, I wasn't able to talk to like other coaches. I didn't go on any other official visits. Miami was my only one. I ended up committing on the spot when I was down there. I fell in love with Miami. Being from New Hampshire, we're not exposed to that kind of
Yeah.
culture. So it was really interesting, going down there on my official, and I built relationships with a lot of the girls on the team as well. So I ended up committing there. Got a ton of backlash from it. It was horrible. Like
Wow.
some of the coaches that were recruiting me were because I was under the impression that I was going to wait and take all five and then commit from there, but I was just like I need to get this over with. Like
Yeah.
I was just so stressed out, and it was taking away from my education and also like getting better too. So um but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've always felt that like it's the hardest decisions in the world are normally not a yes or no decision. They are a when and where. Like, do you
Yeah,
want to wait or do you want to just do it, early? Like I think a lot of times people don't look at those certain things they don't look at decisions based upon time. And that's really the number one,
right.
like the timing, because like I tell people all the time, like if you wait or if you commit too early or, you know, whatever the case may be, there's pros and cons to both. Like if you commit too early, the coach may leave, you know, there's a lot of different things. If you wait too late, you know, you could, you know, lose your scholarship, whatever the case may be. Like there's a lot of pros and cons. But
Mhm.
let's talk about how you found out that you were the Gatorade Player of the Year your junior year.
So I didn't think that I was gonna get it. There was a lot of growing up, you know, in NEPSAC, there was a lot of girls actually my age that were really good. I
Mm-hmm.
was up against three of them. I mean, if you know Aaliyah Boston, she played at
Yeah.
Worcester. She's at South Carolina. We're now
Yep.
killing it.
Oh yeah, I
Um,
was just watching that game.
yeah,
They
she's a
snuck out.
bucket. So I grew up playing against her, and a couple other girls, and I didn't really care so much about, you know, the awards. This was right after I committed, so it was really just preparing, and you know, watching film at Miami, or on Miami's games and stuff like that. And I got a call from my coach and was like, "You won Gatorade Player of the Year," like, and I like as a junior too. So I was like shook because it's, you know,
Yeah.
you know, all grades. So I was like, as a junior, I did not think that I didn't even think that they could give the award to like someone that's not a senior. So I was just like, oh my God, like I was very I was excited, but I was like kind of confused too. I was like, oh my God, like that's insane. And they gave a bunch of Gatorade and like protein bars and stuff to my school. And then two trophies. Actually, I have one over there. But I have my banner hung up in my high school gym, which is really, really cool. That's like
Yeah.
that's so it's still to this day like, oh my God, like that's insane.
Yeah.
Um, but I have my jersey or yeah, my banner up, and then my trophy at my high school as well. And then with that, also you get your jersey hung up in the Basketball Hall of Fame, which is really cool too. So that's in Tennessee. So any like Gatorade Player of the Year, they'll put like your jersey up for that year. So I have my high school jersey also put up in the Hall of
Hey,
Fame in
that's so
Tennessee.
cool. But you probably go back and you see that and you're like, wow, like
It's so surreal still to this day. Like I went back 2 years ago, right after COVID, I went for a men's game. They were playing Brewster Academy, which
yeah.
I'm
Oh,
sure everyone's,
pretty
you
much
know,
everyone should know about Brewster.
everyone should know what Brewster Academy is. They were one of our rival schools, and I went back with a couple of my friends, and I like completely forgot that my banner was there. And I walked in and I was like, oh my God, like it's still here. It was really cool though. Definitely a probably again like the highlight of my career for sure. Because it's always going to be there, and it's in
Yeah.
my on my stomping grounds, you know. So it's really neat to be able to you know, see that
Go
whenever
back
I
to
go
it.
back. Yeah, for
What was
sure.
your experience like at U Miami?
Oh God, okay. Um so my freshman year, I prepared a lot going in. Like I felt very prepared.
Yeah.
I remember we had our preseason game against USF actually. And I killed that game. And then I came down off of a rebound in practice the day before our first official game and completely tore my hip out. So I had microfracture, cartilage replacement, and a torn labrum. So I had like a complete construct, like they had to reconstruct my left hip joint. So I had three pieces of cartilage that actually broke off of like my joint and were floating around inside my joint. And it was like the most painful. Like I literally thought I did not have a leg when I came down from the rebound. Like it felt like just like electricity like going down. Like I could not feel my legs. So it was a really scary experience, and I've never been injured before. Like growing up high school, like I had like, you know, a couple, you know, bruised ankles and stuff, you know, coming down, but I've never had like a serious injury. Um, so it was the scariest moment I think of my life then. And you know, looking back on it, I really didn't do much. I just came like it was a regular came down off a rebound. We were doing a rebounding drill, and I just like fell, and I literally could not like walk. It was very scary.
Yeah.
Um, so you know, we got X-rays and stuff. I actually had to see a hip specialist because at UM they have like everybody but a hip specialist. So I went and saw a hip specialist, and they said that I had to get it was a 7-hour surgery, They had to fix my labrum. They had to take out the pieces that broke off and um, uh, repair them with biocartilage, which is like artificial cartilage, and then glue that together. And then I also had a microfracture too. So it was just a lot going on.
Yeah.
And again, this was before my first official basketball game. So it was like the timing could not have been worse. I was really looking forward to playing. Um, it was horrible. They said that I would be out for about a year. I couldn't walk for 2 months. So I was actually in like a motorized wheelchair, and I was in like a cast from like here to my knee. So it was really hard. And rehab, I was in rehab for like almost 2 hours a day. So that was just like, oh my gosh, it was horrible. And I came back from that, physically came back kind of. And then, my sophomore year, I just mentally was not there. Like basketball is like the only thing that I ever have known, growing up. So I never really had anything else to kind of lean on as far as like, when I'm going through something, it was always my stress reliever, and I'd always play to get away from everything. So, when that happened, I was like, I literally don't have anything. Like, I can't play. Like, I couldn't walk. I was in a cast, like a 0 degree. I couldn't move. Like I was actually in too. I had to do like a movement machine as well. So it was just, I was not able to do anything really. And sophomore year comes around, and I was like, okay, finally, like I can start playing again. But I just never came back the same physically or mentally from that, still to this day. And I'll explain that too with UCF. But I made the decision the end of my sophomore year because I wasn't playing much, and I got a therapist because I was really struggling with the mental side of things.
Yeah.
And I was diagnosed with anxiety disorder, but that really affected me as well. And I think that was stemmed from the injury, because I just never came back. And I would go into practice, and I was there, but I wasn't really there. Like my feet were there, but mentally I was never there, like ever again. So yeah, I ended up, leaving Miami and making the decision. I didn't think that I was going to be able to play in the ACC anymore after that.
Yeah.
Because, ACCs are really, I mean, for women's basketball too, it's one of the best, it's probably the best conference.
Yeah.
For women's basketball. So I knew I wasn't going to play. And then I was like, oh, I have to go through the recruiting process again.
Yeah.
So ended up, setting up a couple officials, and I told myself, oh, I was like, okay, we're going to do this right this time. And I'm going to actually take my officials this time around, and really like do things the correct way. And ended up committing to UCF, in Orlando. And I had to sit out so this would be my junior year at this point. I had to sit out. So I redshirted, because this was before they came out with like the new rules for transferring. Yeah. I had a great experience at Miami. Like I met a lot of people.
Yeah. What were some of your fun experiences at Miami?
Yeah. So I just met a lot of people. Like I met LeBron and Dwayne Wade, and they would always come in the gym and work out, which was really cool. So I would be in there shooting, and like they'd have all these people come in. And I think the best, as far as like basketball goes, I think the best experience I had was actually Ray Allen was in there, and he was working out. And he showed me a bunch of shooting drills, like offered to show me, because we were doing a workout on the other side. And I'm a shooting guard, so I take pride in shooting. And I'm from the North, so when he was on the Celtics, I was like, oh my god, like this Ray Allen.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was so cool. It was like the coolest thing ever. And because I grew up watching him like when I was a kid, and someone I looked up to, and he literally took the time to show me a bunch of his shooting drills that he does. So that was really, really cool. But yeah, Miami was great. As far as, as far as like the basketball, I didn't have the best basketball experience there, but I did meet a lot of great people. Miami, again, it's in Miami. I mean, but yeah, it was definitely the basketball situation there was just, it wasn't the best.
What was your experience like at UCF in general?
Yeah, UCF was non-basketball.
Yeah, we'll get to basketball. You guys did some things, but
I love
non-basketball first. Yeah.
Loved it. I met so many people. Like there's 60, it's actually UCF. A lot of people don't know this, but it's one of the biggest schools in the country. There's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
65,000, something like that.
yeah,
It's a lot different than Miami because um Miami's in Coral Gables. Their football stadium was they played at the Dolphin Stadium, Miami
yeah.
Gardens. So UCF was definitely more of a college feel. Everything was on campus. We had
Hmm.
our stadium on campus. Like all our facilities were on campus. They had restaurants and bars and stuff on campus, which is really cool.
Hmm.
Um, so it's definitely more of a college experience at UCF for sure, 100%. And I really liked Orlando as well. It was Miami was kind of it was really fast for me.
Hmm.
Um, I experienced a major culture shock being down there. Um, but yeah, Orlando was like a step down. It's not as populated, and I definitely think that there's more things to do in Orlando. A lot of people would disagree with me, but
No, I actually would, and here's the reason why. I think when people look at certain cities, they don't know all the things that are in certain. Because I tell people about that in Indianapolis. Like Indianapolis, yes, it didn't have the beach, it didn't have all the crazy nightclubs, but in terms of just stuff to do on a daily basis, Indianapolis has a ton of stuff to do. So do
mhm.
cities like Louisville. Like people don't really know that. So I would definitely agree with you on that.
Yeah, there's a lot of things to do. I mean, Miami, it's like the same thing over and over
Yeah,
again. So you get sick of it. But Orlando, like you have Universal, you have Disney, you have the beach, you have, the college, you have a ton of different restaurants, and there's just a lot to do.
there's a
You
lot to
can go on the tourist side or you can go on like the north side, which is where UCF is.
yeah.
So there's definitely a lot more to do, I think, there than
So what
Miami.
was your experience like hooping there? I mean, obviously you guys had a ton of success, but what was your, individual experience like?
Um, so I redshirted my junior year, and then the next year was COVID, and I
Mhm.
went through a really really rough breakup during that time. So it kind of, oh my gosh, it was like every time that I was like going to play basketball, it's like something else happened,
Yeah,
and got COVID. I was going through a really really bad breakup at the time of like a 3 year relationship, very toxic relationship. So it was just a lot going on. And obviously I was still recovering from my injury. Like I even still to this day, like I do recovery.
yeah,
Because my hips artificial, like my left hip joint is essentially glued together. So I was doing a lot of rehab. And I just, I never played. I never played. I never came back. And it truly sucks because I worked so hard growing up and I wanted to play pro.
yeah,
But ever since the injury that I had my freshman year when I was 18, I just never came back physically or mentally. And I think the mental side of it was really a struggle.
yeah,
Um, I met with a lot of people, I talked to a lot of people. Um, I started mindfulness and meditation. So I did the work that I needed to do to try to, one up myself to be able to step up and get back to where I was, but it just never occurred. Like I just, you know and that's when I had to kind of shift my focus. I mean, we won the championship, which was really cool. I mean, we got a ring from it,
what was
and
that
everything.
experience like?
That was crazy because we played USF South Florida in
Yeah,
the championship the year prior, and they beat us by like 20. So completely kicked our butt. And um they're a rival school too.
yeah,
So it was kind of crazy, like ironic that, we played them. And then the year after, which was last year, we ended up playing them again in the championship. And we were losing at one point, but we ended up just, I think we were just angry from the year prior. So we were not letting them beat us again, especially not by 20. So I think we ended up winning by like, think it was like 5 or 6 or something like that. But it was crazy. They had all the confetti come down, and we had our ring ceremony or our trophy ceremony. So it was really cool. Definitely a great group of women for sure. UCF, great team. Um, I actually grew up with one of the girls on the team as well. We grew up playing AU together, so
Mhm.
that was cool being able to, have her be on the team with me and stuff during that.
So on March 22nd, 2022, you decided to retire. What was that, process like? What was going through your head? And looking back at it, almost a year now, getting close. What do you think came about it? And, are you happy?
Yeah, so I actually have 2 years of eligibility left.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of people don't know that, but I don't tell people because they get mad at me. They're like, "You should go back." Like, I'm not going back. Trust me. Um, but I think the NIL came out. When NIL came
Oh
out,
yeah.
that really sparked my interest in marketing and
Yeah.
entrepreneurship and business. And that's when, it was towards coming up. It was June, July. And my senior year, I did not, and I can say this now because I'm retired, but I did not spend like 1 minute in the gym, like except for practice. Like I did not truly care about basketball because I knew that I was not gonna play pro, and I knew that wasn't my aspirations and my goals anymore, was to, play professionally anymore. Um, so I kind of shifted my focus on NIL and marketing. And, I we were the first NIL team full sponsorship with College Hunks, which is really, really cool. And I had over 200 endorsements my senior year. So that was really, really cool. And that's what sparked my interest with marketing. I got to meet a lot of business owners. My network just expanded like crazy. And I just really wanted to focus, even though I was playing, I wanted to take advantage of, I was on full scholarship, like, but I knew I didn't want to play. So I would just show up to practice and be a good teammate. And that's all I could do at that point. And I just really wanted to focus on NIL. So a lot of people would think, oh, you don't play, like, how do you have so many deals, whatever. I just network. Like,
Yeah.
I'm a communications major. I know how to talk to people. And I'm just big on networking. So being able to do that definitely sparked my, initiative as far as like retirement goes. We ended up losing the second round of March Madness last year. And, I was debating on going back. My coaching staff was leaving. They're at Georgia now.
Yeah.
And there wasn't as many girls on the team, so a lot of people ended up leaving. And it did spark my mind. Okay, like maybe I can stay. I didn't have the best relationship with my coach there at UCF. So I was like, okay, new coaching staff, new players, just a whole, maybe I'll give it like one last try, but I don't think mentally I could push myself anymore to continue to play just after everything that I've been through. So I was like, all right, I just got my master's in IDS with a concentration on entrepreneurship and marketing. So I had that kind of on my belt, and I was like, all right, I have my master's. That's like the main reason, like why I wanted to continue playing. But I was like, I've actually did 2 years in one because I didn't want to play the following year. So I did a 2-year master in 1 year. Yeah. Which was a lot, but it was worth
That
it.
was a lot of work because I did about like a year and a half of work within a year, and that felt like a lot. I'm not sure if I could do two in one. That would be way too crazy.
It was a lot, but it was worth it. My parents came to the game because it was in Connecticut. It was at UConn, second round. So we played Florida and then lost to UConn. And I actually had a full-time job at the time. A lot of people don't know this as well.
You had a full-time job?
Yeah, surely did. I had a full-time job playing I got my job in January. So I was working full-time from January until.
What did you do?
I was a marketing coordinator for a contracting company.
Oh, wow.
So I would take my iPad, I got a business iPad, and I would just take it on trips, and, I'd wake up early before games, do, all my marketing stuff that I needed to for the company. And I was head of marketing there as well. So it was kind of crazy. But I've always been the type of person, like, I like to do a lot. Like, I'm never satisfied with anything. So, I had that. And, when I retired, I was like, okay, I have a job. Like, as student athletes, we think that there's nothing like outside
100%.
besides the sport, but like the world is huge and there's so many opportunities out there. And like, this is like another thing too, but it's just a lot of people think that, being a student athlete, there's just nothing else left after you graduate. And that's not the case. Like, in my opinion, there's way more out there. Like, you could get injured, like anything can happen. There's a world outside of it. full of opportunity and full of network. So um, I ended up retiring. Finally, I was like, okay, it's like the relief was insane. I wasn't wearing and tearing on my body and like my
Yeah.
mental as well. So um, retired and then continued doing my full-time job in Orlando. And then I was working for a few months after, and I just really missed home. Like, I still was kind of like not fully happy, being there. And like, I was in Florida my whole college career for 5 years, and I was like, I want to go home. I miss my family. And,
Mhm.
that's one thing about me is I'm really, really close with my family. Um, Especially like my mom. My mom's my best friend. Like, I tell her everything. She's my bestie. So I miss being home. And I was like, I need to go home. Like, I'm going to spend this summer. The company I was working for, I was working remote, fully remote. I told them, I was like, and they were in Orlando, but I was like 50-50 when I was down there. And I told them, I was like, I really want to go home. And they actually let me work fully remote from home. So I spent this summer, I cut back as far as working goes and really just like wanted to be in tune with my family. We went on some camping trips and, it was really good to reunite with them. So my whole family lives up north for the most part. So it was really much needed this summer to be able to, reunite with them and just spend time with them. So
For sure, for sure.
yeah.
What made you choose to live in Charleston?
So I actually got offered a marketing job down here.
Okay.
Yeah, and I had no intentions on moving.
Because I was
I
wondering where that correlation was.
Yeah, and
Like,
and everyone asked me, everyone asked me that because I just like pick up and move. I don't like I literally like I'll be in New Hampshire and like I literally just packed up and moved on Thanksgiving this year. Like just packed up my stuff and dipped.
oh wow.
It was yeah, but I got offered. I was like applying to other marketing jobs. I was working for the company I was with for about a year. And I was like, I can't work fully remote anymore. Like I'm very picky as far as like I'm very organized and I just don't like not being able to go into an office and talking to people, but also just like, so my dad was also working fully remote and I don't think that helped either.
Yeah.
We were just so distracted. Like, it was very unproductive.
Yeah, my fiance, she works remote and it's like the best, funnest thing ever. But like you definitely go through a different mindset when and she says this all the time, when you have to like get up and like go to work, it's like your
Yeah.
different mind frame versus like you can literally like get out of bed 5 minutes before work and just kind of just get to work and it doesn't really affect you versus like if you have to get up and do everything that you have to do to get to work, then you take a different mindset, mind frame. And it's funny because like I know a lot of like people who would rather go to work versus work at home now since they've had that opportunity. How do you feel about that? Or
I
or
agree.
you think you would rather?
I think I think the biggest thing for me was not being able to talk to people.
Yeah.
Like I felt so isolated and like my dad, so like I had my office which was next to my room and my dad's office was upstairs and like I just did not talk to anybody. Like I would have my music on all day and like I could not. Like my mom would get home and like I would just be like straight blabbermouth. Like she'd be like, "Can you shut up?" Like I literally did not talk to anyone today. Like, can I please have a moment to just
Yeah.
talk? Like, you know? Um, but yeah, I also just wasn't like the focus wasn't there either.
Yeah.
I think I could do like maybe 50-50, but fully remote, mm.
Yeah, it worked during COVID, but I'm not sure if we want to keep going that route. But
Yeah.
one thing, and this is the last question, and we have a fun little game that I always do at the end.
Okay.
What is one thing you would tell someone in your shoes?
Um, okay.
Like, let's say
Um,
it's an 18-year-old that is going to Miami University to play basketball,
hmm.
or going to UCF to play basketball, whichever the two.
Um, don't let me make sure I'm saying this right. Um, don't let your performance bait like don't let your performance like and this can be like apply to anybody, but don't let your performance um base you off of like your self-worth. Like don't let your self-worth be based off of your performance. So if you have a bad game, or if you get an F on an assignment, or if you get fired from your job, like don't let that affect your self-worth, because you are important, you are valued, and people love you. And don't let something like that, an obstacle like that, frame your self-worth of who you are as a person. And I let that, and I can say that because I have let, obstacles like me not playing, like, and I would consider that as my performance, but like me not playing, I would always look back and be like, what's wrong with me? Like something's wrong with me. Coaches especially too, but don't let anyone, or anything, kind of dictate your self-worth, I think would be my advice.
Got you. That was really good. That was really good.
Yeah.
So, fire questions.
Oh gosh. Okay.
20. My personal thing, obviously, there's no wrong answer for you, but I want to get at least 15 out of 20 work right. And I normally am a little off. So let's see if we can get 15 out of 20 right for you.
Okay.
So all these are your opinion. Winter or summer?
Summer.
Family Guy or Simpsons?
Family Guy.
Pizza or burgers?
Pizza.
East Coast or West Coast?
East Coast, all the way, every day.
Got them all right. Nike or Adidas?
Nike.
Movies or TV shows?
Movies.
PlayStation or Xbox?
PlayStation.
Spring or fall?
Fall. Love fall.
Oh, I got that one wrong too. Reading or
Really? Sorry, what was it?
Reading or writing?
Writing.
Big city or countryside?
Countryside.
Beach or pool?
Beach.
Sunrise or sunset?
Oh, sunset.
Dang, I got that one wrong.
I usually go for the sunrise. I like the sunrise. Okay, you can switch. I like the sunrise better.
You're trying to help me out.
But it takes me a lot to get up in the morning to watch it. But I do like the sunrise better. But it does take me a lot. Like I don't watch it as much as I do the sunset. So
especially with you being on the East Coast, I know that sunrise is going to be hard. That sunrise is
it's crazy, especially here, for sure.
Yeah. Now, if you lived in LA, that'd be a little different because it normally rises a little bit later at around like 7, so more people would see it. But
I went to the sunrise here like 3 weeks ago, and it was insane. No, it was beautiful.
Comedy or horror?
Comedy.
Batman or Superman?
Superman.
Superwoman or Catwoman?
Superwoman.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Ooh, I'm getting close.
You better got that one right.
Yeah, I got that one right.
Okay.
These last two are going to be so huge. Okay. Facebook or Twitter?
Okay, can I say neither? Because I don't do either. Like I really,
because we're going to go into the next one.
Probably Facebook.
Okay, Facebook. I got that one wrong. This one is huge. Instagram or TikTok?
Instagram.
Whew. This is the first time I actually got 15 out of 20. So this is the first time I actually got it to 75%.
What would you get on this one?
I got 15 out of 20 right.
Oh, okay.
That was my goal.
What ones did you get wrong?
I got the sunset sunrise. I kind of gave myself that one because you said both. I messed up pizza and burger. I messed up Family Guy or Simpsons, and I messed up beach or pool. And
you messed up beach or pool?
Yeah.
You thought I like the pool better?
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
And then I know. And then I messed up spring or fall.
Okay.
No. I got the one. I messed up PS5 or Xbox.
Okay.
Yeah. I messed up.
New Hampshire has the best fall, though, I must say.
Yeah.
We have the best fall up there.
Well, anyways, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Hopefully you can come on my sports channel if you ever want to talk some basketball.
Yeah, let's do it.
That'd be dope. But either way, thank you. Tell everyone where to follow you at.
Instagram is Becca Ripley. Twitter is Becca_Ripley. Don't really use it. TikTok, I don't even know. I think it's Becca_Ripley 11. And I like just got my first Facebook a couple of weeks ago, I think.
What?
Yeah, I like never use Facebook.
So at least the Facebook Twitter one, it was up in here. You don't really use
That's
it.
what I said. I really don't. I use Twitter for like news purposes, and then Facebook for like my you have to have like if you have a company page, you have to have a personal page behind it. So that's like the only reason.
So you have those two just by default. You're not really going on.
Yeah, no, completely by default. Not like, yeah.
Okay, well, either way, thank you for coming on. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.